Welcome to the Orpheus training series. This is Matt Navarre. This lesson will cover how to enter an STD case into Orpheus. STDs are very similar to other diseases in Orpheus, and most of the screens are going to be the same, but we'll talk about the ways that they're different. So first of all, we start with a new case investigation, and then we put in the name of the person we're looking for. We'll put in David Simpson. And we'll give David chlamydia. Okay, so what we do is put in the basics here. So we'll put it in Lake County, which is Lakeview. It finds a potential duplicate, and we'll go ahead and use that case and just make a new disease for that case, for that person. It's pretty common in the case of STDs, actually, much more than other diseases. You'll find comorbidity. You'll find that they have had a history of other STDs. So that's something to look for, and that's one of the reasons that down here at the bottom we've added this comorbidity area that lists other diseases, any other disease that this patient has that you can see within your county. The other things that we're going to see that's different here are the main disease block here has a lot of other details. We see stage, and so we can put asymptomatic. That'll be really important in the case of syphilis, we'll see shortly. We also see several things that are sort of shortcuts for other places in Orpheus. So for example, the interview date exists elsewhere, but to make it simple, we can put it here as well. The interview status of whether they were interviewed. Lab tests, normally you have to actually go to the lab tab and click Add Specimen to add a lab test to for this person. And the same thing is also true for treatment information. But what we've done here is we've made it possible on the Basics tab to enter a lab test directly from this button here, so New Specimen. And then furthermore, you can also click on the specimen from here to edit it. So after we've added a lab test but not finished filling it out, I can go ahead and click on that record here and then go ahead and continue filling out the information. So it was a urine, and it was an antigen, and it was positive. If I go back to basics, now I see that's all filled out. Now if I want to put treatment in, like a specific drug that was given, I can just click New Treatment. It takes me right to the clinical tab, and then it creates a drug record for me, and then all I have to do is choose a specific drug. So I'll say it's azithromycin. Normally a dosage would come up, but you can also put in a different dose. So if a doctor gave 800 milligrams instead of 1 gram, you can put that in. Another really important part about STDs that are different is the fact that it doesn't really use the onset date as the key date. So if you know it, you can certainly put it in, whereas other diseases, the onset date is automatically calculated and always entered. In the case of an STD, it's acceptable to be left blank. I'm going to go ahead and put it in for now. I can put if the case is symptomatic or not. And then they can choose also the reason for the exam. Why did they actually come in to get tested for the STD? You know, are they pregnant or symptomatic? And the final really important part about STDs that are important to fill out is the contacts portion of Orpheus. So here we enter a new contact, and we can put in, let's say, Mary Smith. Female. Notice that Orpheus will take slashes or dots for a date, or dashes, and it will convert and store them all correctly. So here's Mary Smith, and none of these is the date that I want, but let's just say this one here from 1980. I made a typo for 1990, and that's really the actual person. So you notice that the contact screen is very different for an STD. There's a lot of additional detail here that's not on on other diseases. So you have information like the date the partner was named and whether and when they were tested, when they were treated. So you can put in maybe they were named on 5/1, tested on 5/2, treated on 5/2. And also the date that the contact was disposition date, disposed of, I guess you could say. And so let's say we gave this particular contact preventative treatment and we did that on 5/2. If you don't know enough information to find the contact, so let's say we have a person that was named, and maybe they were someone who they met as a casual thing and then got together. So what you can do there is you can say, I don't know their last name, so you click unknown, but their first name was Josephine. So you can put that information in, and you don't know the date of birth, but you do know the age. He was 23. So what happens here is you should just ignore any possible matches because none of them are going to be right. So click this ignore match, go ahead and create the contact. And then it creates a placeholder person record so that if you eventually do find this person by researching the case, then you can enter that information in later on. And so what happens is if you go to the description part of the contact, you can say, information about this person's demographics, what they look like. So she was maybe 5'3" and had brown hair and was fair complexion. And here you can put in information about other things. Had a tattoo on right arm of butterfly. Met at Joe's bar, or something like that. And then the person who's doing the investigation can go look there. But let's say that this actual encounter took place in a different location, or that bar, that location that we're looking for is in a different county. So then probably what you'd want to do is transfer the contact, but not the case, to another county. So this case is in Lake County, but let's say this actually happened in, I don't know, Harney County. So we go back to the contact, and we can change this contact to Harney County. And that transfers the contact into Harney County, so that contact is transferred. And then the epi in Harney County will see that incoming transfer, and here's what that looks like. So if we go back to the main menu, it's actually going to be on the local menu. And we can go to transfers and contact transfer, and then choose the county that we have as incoming. So here is that incoming Harney County transfer. So this will show only the transfer information, but not the case information because the case is at a county. And this screen here is one that you might not have seen. It is a contact detail screen, and it was created just for tracking of STDs in Orpheus. And it has all the information about the contact, but only shows basic information about the case, such as disease and case ID. And then we can say the relation, disposition. So if we actually did find this person, we can actually go ahead and change their name and fix information. So we can say we gave preventative treatment, and the transfer is complete, and we gave the treatment today. And then we can put other information in here as well, like were we able to contact them? Yes. Did we refer them? How the information come in. So you can click through these different tabs and see a lot of details about this case. Lab tests for the contact, treatment for the contact, and other details. And then this can also be searched. So for example, if you go home and you don't know who this is, you say, oh, I've got a contact named Josephine. I think I spelled that wrong. So here are your Josephines, and here's your unknown Josephine, so this is an easy way to find them. And then here you can go and correct the information. So if you know her name, when you discover her was actually Josephine Jones, and her birthday you discover was 4/1/90, which makes her 20, not 23, and other information that you discover about this person. And then from here you can also link right back to the case if you can see the case. In other words, if the case is within your county. And then from the case you can link back to the contact. And then you see the name is now updated, and you can put all the other information in. So anywhere you change any of this data, like for example race or pregnant or anything like that, it changes in all the locations where that needs to be seen, pretty much. Also with the contact you can put the interviewer, so you can put the name of the person who did the interview. Let's say Abden did this. And the referral basis. This is important for reporting data to the CDC, so maybe this is a sex partner as opposed to sex plus needle. And then the last part that's important about STDs is the risk questionnaire. So if you go to the Risks tab and you click Ask Risk Questions, this will bring up the questionnaire for this disease. And you can put information in. So does this person have sex with males? No, they don't. That just skips. Now it says, okay, do they have sex with females? Yes, they do. And then now some sub-questions pop up here. How many different partners? 4. And then go to the next one. How many new females? 2, etc. So it just goes through. And then when you're done, you can just close this window. So that's basically how you'd enter a chlamydia. Gonorrhea is extremely similar. Let's real quick enter a syphilis case for Mary Smith. We don't know her date of birth. She's female. We put in syphilis as the disease. The status is confirmed because we have a lab test. And let's make this in Harney County. Okay, so this looks at all the different possible Mary Smiths, and we could use any of them we want. Just for convenience, I'm just going to use this first one. Confirm, so you really want to create a case record. It notifies me that there may be another disease. Normally this is going to be useful if there's another syphilis case that some other county entered for the same person. But in this case it found only one of the disease, and it happened to be Hep C, so we can say, yeah, I know about that, that's good, go ahead and create the case. Click OK. This looks up their previous address and found this person, the address that we had for them was not Harney County. So what we could do here is we could update the case address saying, do we know it? Let's say we don't actually know it. So we go ahead and delete it, but we do know that it was in Burns. And then save those changes. So that doesn't update the person's address, but it does make this case address saying we don't know where this person lives at the moment. The other thing on syphilis, as I mentioned, is the stage. So these are the numbers for the different stages of syphilis. And STDs, these are basically the stages from the form that you'll see. So we can put in a 710 here. And everything else pretty much is the same, except of course the risk questionnaires for syphilis are going to be a little different compared to syphilis or chlamydia and gonorrhea, but otherwise pretty much the same. So that's it. Thanks very much for your time.